Everybody, again, thanks for joining us. Welcome to episode 105 of the weekly tax update, December 5th, 2025. Thanks again. A lot going on this week. This is me. If you need to find me or want to communicate, just you can scan that QR code with your phone. It'll populate your phone with all of my contact details. I know we've said a couple of these things every week, but it's just critical. And I haven't done this for myself because I was going to record it. And of course, I haven't done it. PTIN renewal is now. PTIN is open. You have to renew your PTIN. You have to have a PTIN to accept a fee for doing a tax return. So by all means, you want to take care of this. The IRS estimates this at 15 minutes to properly get it done. The fee dropped $1 to $18.75. So it's non-negotiable, and that deadline is firm. You've got to do it. You might be unable to prepare returns for compensation next year, at least until you reactivate your PTIN. So please take care of that. One of the benefits of having a PTIN and being on their system, there's enhanced course tracking, revised return filing. You can see all those returns. Once you get to 50 anyway, you can see how many returns have been filed with your PTIN. It does give you a bit of identity theft protection, because if you did 200, you shouldn't be seeing 500. It does tend to lag a bit. You'll have done more than you see, and that's okay, because you probably won't have an identity theft case if you're behind, if they're behind what you feel you've prepared. Secure communication with the RPO is available through that portal. And of course, if you are an annual filing season participant, you can track your progress in that portal as well. I thought this was well publicized, but I keep seeing questions on social media. When does he file shutdown? And it's like, just get the returns done already. So this year, because of the delays, and in the past, 1040 shut down around Thanksgiving, and business returns shut down around Christmas, but very typically December 26th. This year, the IRS announced that, in fact, both individual and business would be available until December 26th. If you think about it, that makes sense, because if the IRS isn't ready to start doing system testing anyway, by shutting it off, they would just get more paper returns from people. So it was smart to keep it up and running. So 11:59 a.m. on the 26th. Realistically, that means 9 or 10 a.m. on the 26th. You want to get those last returns out. Yeah, there it is, 11:59 a.m. And that's when sending ends. And that's sending at your software provider, not sending from your office. So by all means, you just want to get those returns done ahead of 11:59 if you can. EA renewal, similarly. If your Social Security number ends in 4, 5, or 6, you want to get that renewal in soon. You run the risk of losing your enrolled agent status. Without the timely renewal, it expires March 31st. So renewal is December 31st. The new license starts April 1st. So the privilege of representing folks would go away, or at least be suspended. That's terrible if you're in the middle of a case as well. Renewal means you continue representing folks without a drop. Okay. Here are the deadlines for the renewal window, though. October 1st opened up. January 31st is the final deadline to submit your renewal application. Your current enrollment expires on March 31st, and April 1st or later, you would have a missed renewal that can result in inactive status. I'm getting a message about a presentation on tips for setting up an ID.me account. We have that recorded somewhere, I think. So I think I did it or Mark did it. So Nicole, if you can find that, would you post it? The ID.me presentation was just recording, and we blacked out our names on it. Renewal requirements are here. I won't put you to sleep on that, but because nothing has changed. One thing we find folks have missed is the ethics training. They forget, or they took more ethics in one year or another. Two quick things. First, if you're an EA or a PTIN holder, go watch one of my ethics. We just did the annual Giving Tuesday ethics on Tuesday. It's already available on demand. It's free. So if you're a subscriber here or not, you can by all means go take that and get your 2CE done. I think it was a cute little presentation. So this year on Bill and Ted's Excellent AI Adventure, just like the movie, it was fun. Please take a look. But remember too, you can't take more. More ethics won't help you in terms of your renewal. It'll probably help you as a professional. But taking 4 ethics this year to make up for 2 last year, maybe that's okay. But if you took 4 this year, don't think that's going to cover you for next year. You're supposed to take at least 2 every year. Anything above that 2 doesn't count. So check your transcripts. Pretend you're Santa Claus. Make a list. Check it twice. Sorry. All right. You probably already need to know this. IRS continuing education only. Make sure you take your ethics. Make sure that you, if you're new, there's a prorated based on the month you took past your 3rd part. And then saving those certificates is critical because we have seen folks get audited. We've also seen folks need them when they filed late. But if anything you've taken through us is available online, you can go pull down all of your own certificates. I don't want to see anyone lose their rights at representation. Also, the service the past couple of years has been really slow at getting these things done. So by all means, the sooner the better. Get it in. Do yourself a favor. All right. So there's a maintenance page here. If you want to go and see anything related to renewal, the 8554 submission page is here as well via link, and you can call Detroit if you need help getting your license renewed. In the past, but when Bob Kerr was at NAEA and you had a problem with a renewal, Bob would always be able to help you get through. There's no Bob at NAEA these days, so I don't know who would help you or help push it through. All right. Okay, so I wanted to stick those things in the beginning. This is the actual start of the program. It's a live program, as you know. Put your Q&A anytime into the questions and answers into the Q&A tab. If you already see the question you want asked to ask is already there, click the up button so it pops up, and I'll see that more quickly. It's a copy of the program available all the way to the right in the handouts tab. It's been my policy not to spend your time during these weekly updates talking about OBA. I am going to mention a couple of important IRS communications that we had where they gave us some guidance. And I want to tell you about some other things going on at the IRS this week. We saw a bunch of information also come out about how ransomware is on the rise. I'll talk about that very quickly. Again, that's not me. WISP and IT is not me, so I won't put you to sleep on that because I think my presentation on it would put you to sleep. All right. Real quick. So Giving Tuesday, if you are not a subscriber here, we do plenty of things for free. But for $52 a month, you can become a subscriber and get unlimited education from us. Just coming up in the next couple of days, we have the update program. So if you join today, you can still get the 2025 AFSP designation done if that's something you need. Email Nicole. She would give you the link. You can study the material and then go take the 100-question online quiz through us. You pass that, we issue you your 6CE. You can purchase the federal tax update. Part 1 is next Wednesday. Part 2 is the following Wednesday. 3 hours each, a total of 6 hours of update. I'm the speaker, both sections, just due to scheduling. You get me this year. If you can buy that separately, but if you're a subscriber, this is included. So you'd want to do that. So what are we giving you for $52 a month? 16 to 20 hours of new live webinars every month. I've been doing an AI and tax practice program every month, at least 2 hours. Rita Ryan has been delivering 2 hours on international tax for us every month. Brad just did. Brad Messner did a number of programs for us on cybersecurity. We're working to get him on a monthly program for us as well. So you'd have 2 new hours of that every month. That's a lot of value. We're also, every month, we're giving you the AFSP program each year, the ethics program each year, and 8 hours of tax update if you include one of the states, California, New York, Oregon, some of these states where we're providing a tax update as well. All right, so please, that code is still working today. So if you save $50, $100 one-time lifetime fee to join, and then $52 a month for as long as you'd like to join us. If you have any questions on it, call or email. Happy to get you up to speed with it, and happy to see you as a member. So here are some of the issues that we've seen this week in guidance from the IRS on One Big Beautiful Bill Act, otherwise known as OBA. So we have some guidance in Notice 2025-69 and 2025-62 talking about the tips and the overtime deductions. Some of these things are what we expected. Other things are not so much. So for 2026, W-2s will change. Overtime and tips will be reported as practitioners will be able to guarantee, will be able to rely on that reported number by the employer. This year, though, it's the wild, wild west. So we can rely on the tips on the W-2, provided the employee works in one of those 68 occupations listed in the notice. If they have a monthly tip report to the employer that backs up the W-2 entry, then you can rely on that. A tip log might be helpful, maintained by the employee. And then if they've also reported tips on Form 4137, which were not on the W-2, you'll be able to rely on those as well. Now, overtime pay, we've gotten some interesting guidance. I've joked, and I will joke, how this is one of the 3 big lies of OBA was no tax on overtime, because to me, people heard I make $20 an hour normally. For overtime purposes, I make $30. Overtime is $30. I'm not going to pay tax on the $30. That's not what's happening. Only the premium portion. So if I make $20 and I get a $10 premium, that $10 isn't taxable. Now, in some of our programs, we had folks say, well, I work at a union where my workers get double time on their birthday or Christmas. They get triple time. They work in a factory where the machinery can't get shut down. Well, as far as we know, you're gonna take that premium above the base pay, and you're going to be able to get that. Well, turns out that's not true. It's a bigger lie than we thought. It's only that 50%. So the person who makes $20 an hour base pay, $30 regular overtime, and $40 on weekends and holidays, let's say, it's only going to be that first 50% portion. That $10 portion is all they're going to get going to get an adjustment for. Now, we also have to worry about the FLSA, the Fair Labor Standards Act. So you have to be covered by Fair Labor Standards Act. So Fair Labor Standards Act is if you work 40 hours a week, you're going to get overtime on all the work above that 40-hour period. Some states, for example, like California, if I work more than 8 hours in a day. Other states, if my start and end are more than a certain number of hours apart, I'm required to get paid time and a half. Sadly, that overtime, that's not a Fair Labor Standards Act overtime. That is a state law overtime. That overtime won't count for the adjustment. Other issues here as well are if I'm not covered by Fair Labor Standards Act, I understand UPS, FedEx drivers will not be covered by this. So we'll have more for this if you come to our tax update program next week. Now, something to keep in mind here is that married filing separately, this adjustment won't be available. So there's not going to be the planning here that we thought we might have. And of course, folks need to have a social security number. Notice 2025-57 gave us guidance, or actually gave automobile lenders guidance on the documentation they need to put out for the interest. Now, there's a Form 1098 VLI out there, and that form is not going to come out until 2027 for 2026 tax returns. So, oh my gosh. And if you think about it, that makes sense because we passed this law in July, retroactive to the first of the year. How could anybody possibly be ready for it? Any of the lenders? So the rule says that basically, if you've notified your loanees, your borrowers, of the amount, we're going to be okay with that for this year only. You don't need to issue the 1098 forms. So we're going to be chasing down our clients for how much interest they had. Options available to the lender: an online portal, the monthly statements, or an annual summary statement. Now, of course, most of these clients sign up for direct debit. They don't write a check. They don't even have checks. They don't get a statement in the mail. So you're going to have to get them to remember how to log in. Now, I have a car with a loan on it. Loan's 3 years old. I couldn't even remember the login, much less the password. I finally got in because I wanted to have a sample statement for the presentation. But good Lord, imagine our clients. They're not going to be able to get in. They're not going to remember. All right. So there's a couple of new plans out here. And remember, I only talk about the law. I don't mean to be political. So we have Trump accounts are these new child savings accounts. It's a new type of retirement account designed for eligible children. And the idea is to get them started and get them used to saving their own money like a 401k. My 22-year-old college-educated daughter, some of these concepts are foreign to her. It seems like a waste of money. Why am I going to do this? Why am I going to do that? So you have to take where the kids aren't learning it anywhere. Hopefully here, they'll start learning it in school. Let's talk about your Trump account. Let's talk about the balance. What does this mean? Can you imagine if you're 9 years old on the playground and these kids start fighting? My Trump account balance is higher than yours, Pop. Or I've got a better long-term return on my investment than you do, Pop. This would be some interesting stuff. But seriously, will this get us talking about it, training about it? Well, the same thing that sending people Social Security statements 20 years ago got people realizing what they were going to get and talking about it. Maybe that helped. I don't know. We'll see here. Remember, everyone's going to get that $1,000. I didn't have time to add a slide, but anybody under the age of 10, due to the generosity of Michael Dell, founder of Dell Computer, and his wife, they're putting up $6.5 billion with a B dollars to give every child under the age of 10 $250 into their Trump account. So you can call it Section 530 Cap A, but I hate to be which would you rather I was? That would be a great poll today. Would you rather we were calling it a Trump account or calling it a 530 Cap A account? Why don't you tell me that? Throw that for me into your into the chat, right? Would you rather hear us talk about a 530 Cap A or about a Trump account? There's a debate out there with right now in Congress. Representative Presley sent a letter to the Treasury asking that they create comprehensive and equitable guidance. He thinks the program may deepen the wealth inequality if not carefully designed. Well, we're giving everybody that $1,000. So on the one hand, that $1,000 probably means a lot more to a lower income family than to a higher income family, a higher wealth family. I'm sure you've heard this from folks other than me, but so without sounding cliche, everybody should sign up for this. It's free money. Why wouldn't they sign up for it and take the $1,000? Even if there's never another contribution to the account, why wouldn't you do that? And actually, for most people, it's probably going to be $1,250 now due to the Dell's donation. All right, there's new qualified opportunity zones, QOZ2s. So qualified opportunity zones are now permanent, which is a good thing. The qualifying census tracts are going to need to be renewed every 10 years. And basically, that's great. We have a census every 10 years, so that's going to allow the government to either continue a certain area or add or subtract areas. I think that's a great thing, and that'll allow them to continue to concentrate investment in areas of low-income communities. There's also something called a Rural Qualified Opportunity Fund, a ROOF, or RQF. And that's going to actually give a 30% reduction in capital gains versus the 10% available currently under qualified opportunity zone. So we'll see where this goes. You've heard this before, but we're starting to communicate it this year with folks that the 1099 reporting threshold is going to go up to $2,000 for 2026. As someone said to me, nobody files 1099s anyway. Well, we do here in the office. And we actually run into an opposite problem. We have folks who should not get a 1099. They're under $600, $200, $300, $500. And this is one of the real estate offices where they all claim it's their quote-unquote accountant, the tax professional, that insists on having a 1099. Well, if you're self-employed, I want to add up your bank statements with you, but they must have the 1099. So this large group that we work with issues to S-corps and issues under $600. So when we go to $2,000, they're going to issue even more incorrect 1099s. I can't win the argument. What are you going to do? To make things even more confusing, though, starting in 2027, these notices are going to be indexed. So that means that the government will keep track of these 3%, 5%, 7% annual inflation indexes. And similar to IRAs, they'll round at the nearest $100. So it might take 2 or 3 years, but it's going to go from 2000 to 21 to 22. Yet another number to keep track of, yet another number to say, wait, was that this year or last year? Which year was that threshold? Lovely. Section 179 expensing has been expanded and increased. There's some guidance out on that this week. We're going to talk about that pretty extensively, I think, in part 2 of the update. Exciting things happened at the IRS in terms of administration this week. The president signed the Math Act, the IRS Math and Taxpayer Help Act. I still think somebody stays up at night thinking these things up, but Math Authority is what they were looking to improve and modernize. So this was signed into law November 25th, and it restructures the way Math Authority and math assessments are done. So we have to show in the notices the specific reasoning behind the adjustment. Previously, you would just see things removed and you would say, oh, wait, that looks like a dependent. That looks like this credit and that credit. Yeah, but which child was affected? So that's going to change. There's always been a 60-day challenge period. I talk to colleagues all the time. They say, wait, what do you mean? If you had a Math Authority notice, you can contact the IRS by phone and say, I disagree, give me my money. They'll give you the money back. They have to turn around and adjust it back to your favor. Now, of course, the next thing that the next choice the government has is to issue a 90-day letter, which sometimes they do. Penalties are going to require managerial oversight where they were always supposed to. For those of you that had anything pending in the U.S. tax court, they canceled 2 months worth of programs due to the shutdown. October 20, 27, November 3rd, November 17, and then that rolled into Thanksgiving. So there will be sessions in December. The clerk office remained open, though. There's legislation pending called the Tax Court Improvement Act that we're going to talk just a little bit about. I want to mention this is off the IRS website, which we pull. So as of today's numbers, this is important. The 2848s and 8821s are down to, I think, 2 days of processing. Yeah, 2 business days. We've been uploading everything to via the Tax Pro account, and they seem to process that quickly, both ink signature and digital signature. Most of what we have are digital signature these days, but they seem to process in 2 days, and that is what the IRS is saying is 2 days. That's been terrific. The paper filed SS4, I have to tell you, we had one for a foreign entity recently, 5 days. We had the printed CP 575 from Philadelphia in 5 days from a faxed SS4. So we usually wait a week before we call for the number. Identity theft affidavits remain the embarrassment that they are. They moved up a month, I see, to March of 2024, but these things are 2 years behind. It's just outrageous how long it is taking us to process identity theft cases. It's an embarrassment. What expectations should you be giving clients with respect to a power of attorney? 2 days is great, right? What this allows us to do in our practice is I don't call the IRS as much. I'll give it the 2 days. We don't tend to have people walking in saying, "Hi, I have a payroll levy and tomorrow is payday." We typically don't have that client. So with respect to making IRS calls, we're not calling PPS for this to set fax in a power of attorney. We're uploading it, waiting the 2 days. I can see online that it cleared, and we make the phone call. But we're making folks feel better. Identity theft cases, man, eventually everybody thinks it's your fault, but we tell them 22 months, 2 years. I've beat this to death in the past, but paper check phase out. Right now, the IRS is officially not accepting paper checks. I recommend that be your policy, not, well, I think they'll take it. Oh, what are they going to do? Mail it back? You, taxpayer, you client, have to do this electronically. That's all there is to it. Ransomware is on the rise. Ransomware is when our friends at the government our bad actor friends will offer to give you back your data if you pay a fee. They will also offer not to put your data in the newspaper if you pay them a fee. So these numbers came from Travelers, who is my cyber liability insurance carrier. 7,395 ransomware reports were submitted through FinCEN in a 3-year period. $2.1 billion in payments made. That's just an outrageous number. Right now, there's this Alpha V Black Cat dominant threat. Hopefully, I don't ever find it. As a reminder, all of your data at rest on the internet should be protected by multi-factor authentication. TaxDome moved to mandatory taxpayer enablement of MFA because we've gotten some complaints. I don't think that's a bad thing because that data at rest, that's my data, right? Their data, my data. So it should be encrypted. We have email filtering. You probably do as well to make sure that you're getting those important emails, that they don't get put into spam or otherwise not get to you. And I'm scared to death a client will accidentally click a link, and that is the number one problem. Oh yeah, Donna says, thank you for saying cap A. It's cap A and A in a bucket, right? Cap A is when it's the big letter A, and A in a bucket is when it's the little a in parentheses. Yes, cap A. And all of you would prefer cap A, which is rather interesting. All right. So we'll just say 530 cap A. So what should I do then for form 4547, right? For the 530 cap A accounts. Oh. All right. Oops. Okay. 2 interesting AI threats out there. Prompt injection attacks. Adversaries manipulate AI systems through carefully crafted inputs, causing them to bypass security controls. I hope we don't see that. Important things that you should think about as we get to filing season. Employer and lender relief, we talked a little bit about that, mostly for automobile loans. Taxpayers are going to need to provide us with a lot more documentation, and you're going to want to ask for that. We've talked, if you're a subscriber, you can feel free to take a watch of client communication, the OBA client communication program I did, where we're sending out information, bits and pieces now, so that people get it and actually pay attention, because otherwise, come January, they're not going to bring me their pay stub, their auto loan. They're first going to look for those things after we're trying to put the return together, or worse, after the return is done and they're like, wait, Nobody watches the news. They're not going to say, I just saw on the news, but they're going to say, I just saw on TikTok, you were supposed to deduct $10,000 for my new car. No, that's not quite how it works. So our 530 Cap A accounts is a new savings vehicle. You should start talking it up to people now. They can actually file Form 4547 with their tax return this year. In our case, we're going to get the word out to folks, both those that had a new child and other folks who might want to contribute to it, right? They contribute to $5,000 into that account every year. And I don't want to sit here and explain that to people. I don't want to have people call me up and say, you missed it. No, I'm going to explain it to you now. Here's the information. And they'll ignore it or they won't. There'll be a lot more information out on the Opportunity Zone, Qualified Opportunity Zone 2. That's going to be effective January 1st, 2027. So as soon as we have information, we're going to start talking about that. All right. We mentioned the cyber risk, mentioned the IRS processing. You should make sure MFA is running on everything that has client data in it these days, especially data at rest on the internet. 2 items just passed through the House that I think are important for us to discuss, or at least to mention. Now, neither one of these have passed. They passed the House. They're not been passed the Senate or been signed. One is the FAIR Act, Fair and Accountable IRS Reviews Act. So this is basically designed to make sure that where a case is supposed to be where a penalty is not automatic and requires manager review, that the manager review is actually happening. They spent 20 years not doing that. It took a Frank Agostino case, Grave versus Commissioner, where he embarrassed them, and all of a sudden everybody's concerned about it. So we're going to see more. On the one hand, from a representation standpoint, that's not going to be an easy out for penalty abatement, because if they can't produce it, the penalty goes away. But we're going to see a fairer standard, I think, so hopefully less penalties being written. Supervisory approval must be obtained in writing before the IRS provides the communication of the penalty to the taxpayer. Now, it used to be they had to get approval from the supervisor before they issued it. Now, on the one hand, now they're giving it up to the date where the notice is given to the taxpayer. The agent's actual immediate supervisor has to give written approval at the determination, not some random robo-signer elsewhere. This clarifies the rule and ends the practice where the agents were levying fines and not necessarily without proper or without timely or any supervisory approval, because either one of those things was not right. We know what the tax court is, I hope, where a taxpayer can not pay the tax and challenge the liability in court. So the Tax Court Improvement Act, also only passed by the House, not passed yet by the Senate or signed by the President, talks about 4 reforms. Equitable tolling, the court will gain jurisdiction to extend deadlines. They can't extend deadlines right now. They're going to have the ability, they're going to get expanded judicial tools. Judges will receive subpoena authority for documents. So IRS didn't get something, the taxpayer didn't get something, the judge will be able to sign for it and get it. He'll subpoena it. Tax court judges are going to be held to the same standards as other judges. Right now, I think there's 14 judges. Right now, you can't have one removed, disqualified. Now you'll be able to. And then expanded case assignments, we're now going to have the ability for a special trial judge authority where they can say, you know what, none of us have that expertise, but we know a guy, and they'll be able to bring in that judge. Right now, they can't do that. The problem with equitable tolling is there's rigid deadlines, so we're going to be able to extend those so that folks can get their day in court, if you will. Judges are going to be able to, we said subpoena power, they're going to be able to compel production of documents under this law. And finally, under the FAIR Act, Before the IRS can impose the penalties, the agency is going to have to follow proper supervisory authority. The issue here, though, is who's watching what they're doing. It takes us, enrolled agents, CPAs, attorneys, to push back and say, okay, fine, that penalty might be appropriate. Are all your ducks in a row? Were you right to assess it or not? And we're gonna have hopefully better processes internally at the House, at the IRS. So we're waiting for the Senate Finance Committee to review it. They'll either send it back to the House or they'll recommend it go to the floor for a vote. And then after that, we'll need the president to sign it. All right, program's running a little over today. I have a number of TIGTA reports that I mentioned here. So without putting you to sleep on it, I want to just mention a couple of things here. No surprise, based on the decrease in personnel at the IRS, TIGTA, Treasury Inspector General for Tax Administration, is not expecting things to go well. 25% of the overall workforce is gone. 35% of the small business self-employed division is gone. Those are the folks that do a lot of the audits these days. 27% of examiners are gone. The frontline folks that you meet with, they're gone. 19% of the folks in submission processing are gone. Well, they were trying to do more automation on that for years, and they've in the past had the ability to bring on seasonal help. If you remember, they were trying to hire 5,000 people right after COVID, right, to help with processing. So that number I don't worry about too much. I do worry about the other three, because either there's going to be less auditing, or they're going to rely more on automation. Less auditing, once people figure that out, it gets all over TikTok. Forget it. It'll be back to the wild, wild west. But automation is going to have bumps the first couple of years, I think. You'll remember that they did spend some of that Inflation Reduction Act money before it got taken away. They did go to a zero paper initiative internally, right? Things are scanned and then destroyed. They don't want to add to paper. All right. We talked about some of these backlogs already. So I don't want to, but this came out of TIGTA's backlogs. I gave you a more current number because this was inside of TIGTA. I thought these were important as well out of TIGTA. September of 2025, they did a statutory review and they uncovered some IRS compliance issues. So direct contact violations. TIGTA identified 38 violations in 21 exams where basically the examiner was speaking to the taxpayer going around the representative, which they can't do without filing paperwork to bypass you. So TIGTA then estimates that extrapolates out to 13,600 cases where examiners would fail to follow procedures that are in place to protect the taxpayer's rights. Now, if you're in Tax Professionals of America on Facebook, Jason Daughtry just put up a terrible story today where he's been representing a tax professional in, you're always your own worst client. He's representing a tax professional in a promoter scheme. And I mean, that could be jail time. What does he find out? While he's continuously representing this person, the tax preparer and the IRS agent have been exchanging documents back and forth because this fellow thinks that he's somehow going to explain to the agent why he's a good guy and shouldn't go to prison. I've had other EAs with similar problems too, where the taxpayer's jumping up and down and wants to talk to the agent. All well and good. I'm out of here if that's what you want to do. We used to have in the engagement letter that you do so at your own consequence, your own risk if you talk to them. Now it says, we're not going to work with you. It's too many chefs in the kitchen. Either I'm representing you or you're representing yourself. That's it. The IRS has noticed distribution failures. 5 of 58 cases. They failed to provide copies of lien and hearing notices to all the authorized representatives. Now, I don't know if that's how clear that is, because I had mail here disappearing for a while. We kept complaining, and finally we found it was going into the wrong box. And there's a stack on social media somewhere, picture where I had like this much, no joke, this much mail one day in a rubber band. It was all dusty and nasty looking. Now, joint return disclosure is we have to tell both people. So in the cases they put both husband and wife, 32% of the cases reviewed had a violation. So 1 in 3, they're not correctly notifying both spouses. Let me count how many ways that gets somebody out as an innocent spouse when they're saying, I didn't know. You're darn right they didn't know. The IRS didn't notify them. We've had that around since 1998. Taxpayer Bill of Rights 2, where we notify everybody. They have similar problems with liens and levies. And then, of course, so what does this do? They have similar problems in telephone authentication controls, and they got defrauded by somebody. $93 million in fraudulent refunds. 2.7 million was paid out before they detected it. So they have their own problems. So during unannounced 2024 filing season visits to tax, Take-Two auditors were denied assistance at 9 of 28 sites due to closures or capacity limits. 8 of the 19 auditors were given inaccurate or incomplete information. Isn't that terrible? Because the Taxpayer Assistance Centers are supposed to be walk-in sites to get help. Those are just terrible, terrible numbers. We already talked about the AI issues and what you should take away from it. So thank you all for joining us this week. And if you have a great rest of the week, I will see you next week. If you're not a subscriber, consider becoming a subscriber, please. Tax Update Part 1 is this week on Wednesday. Thanks again, everybody. Have a great weekend. Thank you for joining us.